Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days and welcome to this look back at the basic Series 1 and Series 2 figures. These are from like 2009. I mean, I don't even know if I was born in 2009. That's like, it's got to be a million years ago now. It feels a million years ago. But yeah, Series 1 was out, I think, December 09. And then I think that Series 2 was out in about January 2010. So we're certainly going back. These were obviously, maybe even the first Mattel figures. We might be looking at the first WWE Mattel figures. So I am super excited to get stuck into this. There's one thing I just want to talk about before we do get stuck into it, and that is the commemorative belts that some of these figures came with. Every figure, they made 1,000 belts for each figure. There's a picture here, actually. This is the best picture I could find. This is thanks to Google Images. And also Ryder or Riot 1, who is clearly showing here what one of the commemorative belts looks like. This is a Mickey James figure, and it came with a belt, and you can see that it says that this is number 689 out of 1,000. So 1,000 belts were made, each one had that wrestler's name on. The belt itself, you know, it's not any kind of championship. It's a really weird thing to give away with figures. I mean, we've had obviously WWE titles, we've had obviously Slammies at the moment as well. So they do have a history of doing this. This is probably the weirdest one because it doesn't look like any title, but very cool. If you do have, you know, a figure that has one of those belts, it's worth keeping hold of. You know, I'm not sure what they're going for these days, but yeah, to say you've got one of the first Mattel figures made, wrestling Mattel figures, and then you've got one of the limited ones that came with that title, that's pretty cool, isn't it? That's pretty cool. So let's get stuck into Series 1. So in Series 1 we had Batista, John Cena, Kofi Kingston, Big Show, Triple H, and Evan Bourne. And we'll start with Evan Bourne because that is an awful face scan. Ring attire is quite accurate. It's just a bit bland. I like the belt detail. I think his boots, like the kick pads on the boots, look really cool as well. Body type's okay. It's the head that bothers me. It's not a disaster. I mean, I can kind of see that it's him, but this is one of the weakest figures out of these first two series. Next up, we got Triple H. Pretty boring facial expression. I mean, they weren't really putting in any exciting facial expressions at this point. Certainly nothing like what we get with Alexa Bliss or you know, Brock Lesnar or Big E. You know, like their screaming faces. So yeah, things were a little bit plainer back in the old days of 2009. So a decent body type, standard ring attire. I like the extra tape detail that's on his right hand. And as you can see, this picture I found, this has him with one of those commemorative belts. Next, Big Show. The proportions don't look quite right to me. I don't know if it's just this picture, but first instinct, so it just feels a little wrong. Quite a strong face scan. Facial expression's okay. Tattoo detail on the arm I think is good. This is an okay figure overall. It's just, again, my initial gut reaction is that the proportions just seem a little bit off. Next, we've got Kofi Kingston. This is obviously pre-New Day Kofi Kingston, well before New Day Kofi Kingston. I like the headband detail. I think that's really cool. Great, like, hair sculpt. Nice face scan. Facial expression okay. Green attire with, like, yellow and gold highlights. Bit of lettering as well on the back, which I think says Kingston. And, yeah, decent figure overall. Doesn't really set the world on fire, but does a job. Next up, we've got John Cena. This is a standard John Cena figure. Nothing really much here to get too excited about, except the trainers. I really like the trainers. I'm so used to the kind of black shoes that we get on John Cena figures these days that it really jumped out to me that he was wearing decent looking trainers on this figure. So I would have liked a better facial expression. I think the rest of the figure's okay, body type looks okay. But for the trainers, just for the trainers, I think this is an alright John Cena figure. And then finally for Series 1, we've got the Animal, Batista. So red attire, great tattoo detail. Obviously he didn't have all the tattoos at this stage that he would go on to have. So if you get a chance to pick up like the Elite, can't remember what series it was from, 30 something, then that's probably the better way forward than getting basic Series 1. But still, if you do find yourself with this, it's a great figure. I like the tattoo detail. Batista written across the front as well. I think the head's alright. It's alright. I think the body type's alright. Proportions look okay. Something seems a little off. I can't quite put my finger on it. But overall, quite a strong figure, I would say. And overall, quite a strong first series. I think they did very well with this. So that brings us to Series 2. And in Series 2, we got CM Punk, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, Kane, Rey Mysterio, and Vladimir Kozlov. And we'll stick on Vladimir Kozlov because I appreciate that is a name that might not be familiar to all of you. Cool figure, as Mattel didn't make loads of Kozlov figures. It might be better to get the Elite because at least the Elite comes with like an entrance jacket and like other attire, whereas this is just his wrestling attire and it's a little plain, it's a bit bland. I think the facial scan and expression and everything is okay. Like, I think it's strong, I think the body type's fine. It's just he was never the most exciting visually in-ring attire or in the ring, to tell the truth. But yeah, this is a perfectly fine Vladimir Kozlov figure. Next, Rey Mysterio, and I kind of like this because I think that they have made loads of Rey Mysterios, but if you think this was the first basic, blue attire with grey gloves, which I think looks quite smart. Love the pose in the packaging as well. Great tattoo detail. I just think they did a good job with this. Sadly, I think there's like a million more that follow when there wasn't really a need for a million more. But yeah, I like this one. Next, we've got Kane, and this is great ring attire. It's red barbed wire detail on the bottom there. Great face scan. It's quite a tall figure, this one, which you can't quite make out unless you put it next to another figure. So this really would have stood out had you have put it on the shelf next to the other figures in this lineup. Another one that really would have stood out, Mark Henry. I think this might be my favourite figure out of Series 1 and Series 2 because this is just so big, so imposing. I think the face scan is bang on. I love the red around the edge of the ring attire. It's accurate, but it really pops against the black of his ring attire as well. Some nice little details all throughout. The hair type looks great. Face scan looks really strong. As I said, this is the figure that I get most excited about when I look at the first two basic series. Next, we got Jack Swagger. Hair looks a little bit too blonde. Not sure about the face scan on this one. Ring attire is good. Black with purple highlights. It's okay. It's an okay body type. I'm just not sold on the hair. I'm not really sold on the face. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would have picked this one up at the time. And then finally, we've got CM Punk. Nice tattoo work. I'm not a fan of the facial hair. It looks too dark when you compare it to the picture on the packaging. Orange and black attire. This is an okay figure overall. I just don't like the head. I I don't like this era CM Punk. I don't like how dark the facial hair is. It just looks a little bit off to me. So for me, Series 2 was okay. And I think 1 and 2 were good starting points, but I think they also got quite a bit wrong. But then they did get a few things right as well, especially that Mark Henry figure, which I rate very highly. So yeah, you know, a good starting point for the basic lineup. I think it's been fun looking at Series 1 and 2. I think we will have a look at Series 3 and 4 soon. And see what figures were to follow. See if Mattel did build upon this foundation or if they continued to get a lot of things wrong. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already, because I really would appreciate that. And hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.